let's jump into game. Because guys, literally every single time when I looked to the right and I saw Ben playing ladder, what I saw was a Protoss army standing at this edge while he spawned over here, was losing his last pylons, and he was kind of trying to look over here where there was one remaining hatchery with a Nidus network next to it, and Ben just floating around with a bunch of mutas. Also takes the other island, and the Protoss player, all that he had left was often in a simulator and a pylon. Defending it with the Horse army, Ben just literally, for 15 minutes, does nothing besides maxes out on a bunch of mutas after the base trace. Flies in all the mutas. He could suicide on the buildings, but no. Ben wants to make it worse. Suicides on the Phoenix, not even Phoenix, like on the Colossus / Stalkers. Or mostly Stalkers first. And then the Protoss is like, oh my god, how many more times are you going to do this? Well, as long as he has money in these 2 remaining bases. Literally the worst playstyle I've ever seen in my life.
The greatest thing in the world, guys.
You enjoyed that, so you enjoyed that way too much.
If Metropolis ever makes it back into the ladder pool, promise me that you'll all try some base race muta. And as we get the 14 pool once more out of Nerchio, these guys are spawning close by air. Great positions for that playstyle, I might add. Also great positions for some War Prism play. And also great position for Roach drop play potentially, which is something we've seen a few times on this map, and I say it almost all the time. I remember the games we saw at Home Stereo Cup between Idra and Blink. Those were really, really cool games where I think Idra played very well on Metropolis, unless I'm mistaken. It was not Blink, but I think it was Blink. Naniwa did scout this time though. He's still going to go Nexus first. This time it's a little bit safer as Nerchio opened up with a standard pool. He's just going to try to get the hatchery over here. Curious to see if Naniwa is ever going to try to do some blocking. Back in the days, Naniwa was always pylon blocking, but seems like he kind of got away from that. Yeah. As so many Protoss players.
Actually, honestly, Kevin, I feel like Grubby's the only guy that I still see really committing to making aggressive pylon blocks, which is interesting.
Grubby's doing quite well on PvZ though. So
I think he's got some of the better PvZ in the European scene.
I think he's very good at I mean, Grubby, as in Warcraft 3, Grubby was already fantastic in exploiting movement. Back then he played Orc, he had the unit called Raiders. Raiders were not a great fighting unit, but they were a great unit to either force a fight or to base trade. And whenever Grubby was feeling that somehow, this didn't happen very often by the way, because Grubby was almost always winning, but somehow if he was on the losing feet, Grubby was excellent in using his Raiders' mobility to buy himself either really a lot of time or just win by eliminating the other player by killing all his buildings. And that's something we really kind of see in his PvZ as well, because he was so good with the War Prisms in his games against Nerchio at WCS.
It's also something that excites me about Heart of the Swarm, Kevin, is Protoss is getting a few more tools to add mobility to its army.
Yeah, I felt it was sicker though with the old Mothership Core, but I guess I should just get that out of my mind. But God, like how Heart of the Swarm was 2 patches ago, with that Mothership Core you just had idling in your main base, you could use Purify every now and then with 45 damage and you could recall armies out. I guess the reason why I like it so much is because it was in balance, and I guess that's why it changed. But oh man, that was so much fun to play.
I've got to say, man, even yes, obviously it was a lot stronger in the previous patch, but I still feel like it's really quite good.
I feel right now, when it's used for all the wrong reasons. Right now it's going to be used much more for high ground vision early on. So instead of going 4-gate Robo Blinkstalker, you can go 4-gate Blinkstalker with Mothership Core and stuff like that. And I really don't think you're going to see it all that much for what it's supposed to do. I think it's going to get more changes. Obviously it's still beta. Anyways, Ben, focusing on this game, we see Stargate play once more out of Naniwa, and I don't mind that at all because this is such a good map for Mutalisk that I feel if you open up with Sentries, Immortals, and try to go up to 3 bases early on.
Sad Zealot in the middle of the map fighting for his life right now, but it's just a never-ending swarm of Zerg doggies nibbling away at his heels, and he does go down.
Got too dicey for him. Well, Naniwa's misreading his situation, Ben, as he saw quite a few links. Of course, this was a scouting Zealot. Considering the fact that he's also following this up with a Stargate, he's going to play it extra safe and get 2 additional cannons. But little does he know, all that Nerchio has been doing, man, is just droning up.
Yeah, almost guarantees that we'll see a Void Ray, and we do see the Void Ray going into production for Nani.
One of the situations where it's hard for Protoss to put the pieces together. If he doesn't make any reaction, and there's a huge swarm of another Zerglings coming up with Banelings, and
I mean, 1 cannon, so
okay, that's good.
So he's sort of piecing it together.
Yeah, but like Naniwa, all he saw was 8 to 10 links, or well, 6 to 8 links, It's easy to say, of course, whenever he does get Banelink busted and he doesn't make a reaction, we're the first ones to say like, oh, why didn't he do anything? He saw the first links, there should have been a reaction. In this case, Naniwa made a small reaction and he didn't have anything to worry about, but of course Naniwa does not know what we know.
Phoenix is going to follow up this initial Void Ray as Nerchio starts up his layer tech.
I'm not surprised to see him fall back on Stargate Playban because I feel that game number 2 was still Nani's game to lose. I would be lying if I say he was miles ahead, but it was looking good for him, and if he would have denied that fourth base in Daybreak, there we go again. But I felt that this was sort of Naniwa's game. At least it looked better than Ohana ever did. Even though Naniwa got a couple of great fights, smart army movement on Ohana, picking up Infestors and Broodlords, he was never in a similar position as he was on Daybreak.
Now, Naniwa's Stargate tech has been revealed. Nerchio knows exactly what he's playing against. And once more, we are seeing the same Spore Crawler reaction and lots of drones. So this game's starting much like games 1 and 2 did. What is Nerchio going to do here? What is Naniwa going to do here? We saw him take the fast third base on Daybreak. Not quite as easy to do that here on Metropolis.
No, it's definitely harder, I think, Ben. Not just because of that he has to worry about this vector as well, but I feel this is just a little bit harder to wall off, and I feel it's harder to see armies coming in as well. In Daybreak, it's so easy once you control one of the Xelnaga watchtowers, or, as I heard from Lauren Elise, eyeballs. As long as you control one of the eyeballs in the middle of the map, Ben, it's going to be a lot easier to see Zerg movement coming in. And we see something very cool out of Nerchio, Ben, and I actually... I mean, this might be wrong, might not be what I think it is, but I thought about this.
I think it is what you think it is.
That he's just going to save up for a long time and then suddenly produce an insane amount of mutas?
I think that's exactly what we're going to see happen here. As we are not seeing Nerchio invest any gas in other things. No upgrades, no roaches, no... in fact, he's only spinning minerals on Zerglings to sort of act as a buffer between whatever Naniwa is doing. And
I feel sorry, man, for Naniwa, as Naniwa produced 4 Void Rays. How did Nerchio see all those Void Rays? Because then it makes a lot of sense. You know, Naniwa once very famously said, if I was a Mutalisk, I would like to meet a Void Ray. Well, his Void Rays are about to meet a lot of Mutalisks. Some people might think this is silly for Nerchio to play Mutas in a situation like this, but the opposite is true, actually. If you can hide your Spire for a little while and just distract your opponent with being active with links on the map and suddenly overrun him with an insane amount of Mutalisk, well, actually, Ben, Naniwa's Gateway army is pretty capable of dealing with mutas as well. And this was a fake. Naniwa's actually going to go for 2 base all-in.
Yeah, Nerchio just now realizing it. This is some brilliance out of Naniwa.
Oh, Naniwa, I think if he knows it, he would produce like 2. Imagine if he just had 3 Phoenix or 4 Phoenix. But it's still possible. With good force fields, I think this might be possible.
It's possible both ways. It's all going to come down to the execution. 14 mutas popping out, 2 more in production.
Naniwa has +1 as well, Ben.
Good job from Nerchio shutting down that probe, but there are 2 very important pylons.
We might see base raise muta.
Imagine if
we see a Nidus going down.
Nerchio is going to evacuate this natural. No, he's just going to come out with everything, but those are really good force fields by Naniwa. And not a good engagement at all for Nerchio. He should have backed off of this immediately.
But the Spore Crawlers, Ben, they're dealing so much damage, and both of them are still alive. But Naniwa has a lot of Stalkers remaining. How many force fields do we have remaining? Quite a few. Naniwa could definitely use a few Zealots, Ben. There are still 13 Mutalisks, but I feel the Zerglings are a bigger threat.
Oh, so many Lings, and the drones absorbing some nice damage as well. I'm so surprised that this fight went this well for Nerchio, but he's just going to continue reinforcing with more and more Zerglings and Mutas. And Nani does not seem to have the answer.
Well, he's doing a reasonable job, and these new Zealots are definitely going to help out quite a bit as well. How many Mutalisks do we have remaining? Still 15. Just now Naniwa is going to try to snipe them down, and he will snipe a few down. But, well, the Zealots are doing a pretty good job. What are the Zealots doing? Just start fighting. They couldn't really reach the links. Overall, I guess it went okay for Nerchio, but... Yeah, I guess it went okay for Nerchio, but no buts.
No buts about it. It went pretty well for Nerchio. Just completely committing everything he had in his natural, all the Lings, all of the mutas, all of the drones.
I really think the Spore Crawlers made a world of difference, man, in that fight.
Definitely dealt some massive damage to the Void Rays. And once again, Naniwa finds himself in the terribly uncomfortable position of being down in bases, being down in economy, being down in supply.
Not having Blink, and I'm going to have to deal with Mutalisk. Twilight Council is going down right now. He's getting a few cannons already. Nerchio is just going to fight these Stalkers at first because his Mutas numbers are overwhelming.
And does back him all the way up to a single cannon and then makes his way over into the natural. Naniwa pulls probes immediately. He's got half the supply of Nerchio. This is such a difficult spot to play from. Cannon in the back is going to go down. Ling's going to stream in, and it's not going to get any easier. Naniwa just does not have an answer.
Nani GG's. Nerchio takes a 4-0 lead in this series. Well, did Nerchio see all those void rays, man? Because I have the feeling that he didn't. I know that he saw one at least, but I didn't know that he.
No.
I'm just gonna double check that because I feel that he didn't see that. Yes, he could have maybe seen one more with the Overlord, but I felt on that moment he already decided to play Spire on this map. And now some people out there might think that seems really silly to open up Spire when you know that your opponent opened up with a Stargate. But it is really not all that silly, because often whenever you play Stargate as a Protoss player, you already have the follow-up transition in your mind. You're like, I'm going to make 3-4 Phoenixes, that's it. Then I want to get my robot down because I want to make sure that I'm safe on the ground as well and stuff like that. And so often you only make 3 Phoenixes, and if you don't really actively look at the Zerg army, you might just think everything is normal, but suddenly Zerg has a lot of money and they're able to produce 15-20 Mutilisks and just completely overrun the 3 or 4 Phoenixes that you actually do have on the map. So I don't think it was all that crazy, and it's something that can definitely work. And I have to admit, I lost a lot. Despite opening up Stargate, I lost against Mutas.
I mean, as bizarre as it may sound, it's not that uncommon to counter Stargate play with Mutas if you can do it this way. If you can save up a big bank and then just kind of overwhelm. Because even if Naniwa had made 4 Phoenixes, if Nerchio pops out with 15, 16 Mutas,
it's
4
too much.
Phoenixes doesn't cut it, and you're not going to be able to catch up off of 1 Stargate. You have to be able to see this, and you have to be able to be pumping out units in response for it, or in preparation to it for some time.
While I was saying that story, I was kind of distracted as I wanted to check the replay real quick to see what Nerchio really saw by the time that Spire went down. And all he saw, man, was that one Void Ray idling outside of the natural of Naniwa and getting a couple of shots on those links. He did not see the second Void Ray. He did not see the Stargate either. Well, obviously he knows there's a Stargate when he saw the first Void Ray, but he didn't have the confirmation there were 3 or 4 Void Rays by the time that he already got that Spire down.
Fantastic play from Nerchio once again. He goes up 4-0. We're going to have a very short break, and we're going to move over into game number 5 as soon as we get back. Don't go anywhere, guys. Homecraft returns after this.